Well, I want to thank everybody for joining with us here today for the signing of some very important legislation in Texas. Now, one thing that all Texans can agree, and that is that we must have trust and confidence in our elections. The bill that I'm about to sign helps to achieve that goal. One thing that it does is it ensures that every eligible voter will have the opportunity to vote. One way that it achieves that is it provides even more hours of time for people to be able to go cast their vote. Let's do some comparison here so you can understand the magnitude of the early voting time period that voters have in the state of Texas. Texas provides 12 days of early voting, and this law even adds more hours during those early voting days. By comparison, the president's home state of Delaware provides 0 days and 0 hours of early voting. No one is saying that what happens in Delaware denies people the right to vote. Similarly, in Texas, because of the 12 days of early voting and even more hours of early voting, as well as flexibility with regard to voting on Election Day, it ensures that Texas provides even more opportunities for people to engage in the voting process than the president's home state of Delaware, as well as many other states across the entire country. The law does, however, make it harder for fraudulent votes to be cast. One area that makes it harder to cheat concerns mail-in ballots. Now, mail-in ballots, this is an area where both Republicans as well as Democrats agree has been the easiest way to cheat in the election process. The law that I'm about to sign fixes that problem. Another issue that this law addresses is ballot harvesting. It makes ballot harvesting a third-degree felony.
Amen.
Now, this is ballot harvesting is a serious problem in the state of Texas, and that comes from a federal district judge who was appointed to serve in Texas by President Barack Obama. That federal district judge heard a case, a trial, and during that trial there was an abundance of evidence presented, an abundance of law presented. And after all of the law and all of the evidence was presented, the judge appointed by Barack Obama wrote an opinion deciding that case. And in that opinion, that judge wrote that ballot harvesting occurs in abundance in the state of Texas, showing the challenge that it poses and showing the reason why Texas took up this cause to make sure that ballot harvesting fraud will be eliminated in the state of Texas. The bottom line of what the law does is what the members around me have said all along. The Texas law, it does make it easier than ever before for anybody to go cast a ballot. It does also, however, make sure that it is harder for people to cheat at the ballot box in Texas. I want to thank the Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, Speaker Dade Phelan, Senator Brian Hughes, and Representative Murr, as well as the Texas legislature for their tireless work in session after session to make sure that we got this across the finish line. We have with us, and I hope I'm getting everybody, also we have Representative Doc Anderson, Representative Cole Hefner, Representative James White, Representative Keith Bell, Representative Travis Clardy, as well as local Representative Matt Schaefer. We thank them for being here. We thank them for helping to get this bill to my desk. Now, Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick.
Thank you, Governor, and thank you for coming to Tyler for this. Brian Hughes, Senator Hughes had quite a session, by the way. Senate Bill 1. Senate Bill 3, Senate Bill 8, and Senate Bill 12, was it? Yes. 4 cornerstones of conservative policies that will help make Texas stronger. Quickly, about this election bill, and I want to thank Representative Murr and Senator Hughes for getting this across the finish line. You hear the media, I'm sure no one here, the left-wing media, you hear the Democrats say it's tough to vote in Texas. Well, that's just a lie. The Texas Association of Business did a poll in June, and 95% of Texans said it's easy to vote in Texas. When we passed photo voter ID in the Senate in 2011, I was one of the authors of that bill, they said the same thing about that bill. It's going to suppress votes and people won't vote. Since that bill passed, Texas has increased voter turnout more than any other state in the country. We have increased, Governor, this is amazing. We've increased turnout in the gubernatorial election from 2014 to 2018 when we ran by 76%. There were 5 million people who voted for Governor Abbott and myself. I'm talking about all voters in 2014, almost 8.5 million in 2018. You don't hear that from the left. You don't hear that from the Democrats. We've increased voter turnout in Texas by almost 40% over 10 years, and the participation by registered voters. 10 years ago, it was about 58% of all registered voters, and in this past election, it was almost 67%. So I don't want to hear this nonsense and the lies that we continually hear that it's tough to vote in Texas. Texas turns out voters because they have confidence that our elections are always going to be fair, and Senate Bill 1 will give them even more confidence. We want to see more people vote. We want to see them vote fairly, and we don't want the cheaters to undermine our elections. So that's what Texas is about, turning out people to vote and making sure the elections are fair and honest and cheaters are caught. Governor, back to you.
Thank you. Well, we are delighted to be in the district of Senator Brian Hughes today, which I think may also represent one of my hometowns, Longview, Texas,
Yes,
does it
sir.
not?
Yes, sir.
It's great to be back in my hometown of East Texas. But Senator, thank you for your leadership on this. Turn the mic over to you.
Governor, thank you so much. Let me thank everyone for being here today. It's an exciting day, and we don't want to forget what brought us here. Today's a happy day, a positive day. We're here because we're responding to some real problems we've had in Texas. In Longview, Governor, as you know, we have a county commissioner under indictment for mail ballot fraud.
Exactly.
Anybody who tells you there's no voter fraud in Texas is telling you a very big lie. It's going on today. This bill deals with that. As you know, over hundreds of counts pending against dozens of defendants. And let me just give one example as I close my part, just so we know this is about real people who are trying to vote. This is about people who are trying to cast their ballots, but cheaters, ballot harvesters, bad actors, paid political criminals are trying to get in between the voter and their ballot. This is sworn testimony from a trial in Hidalgo County. This is from Ms. Cavazos. So she's a first-time voter. She's explaining what happened to her with someone who she thought was there to help her. And here's what she says. I'm going to quote her sworn testimony. She says, and then I go to the polling place, and Marcella goes up. I go to the polls, and Marcella comes up behind me. I had the intention of that she was going to assist me, how to do those things, because I didn't understand that machine. So she started punching in the machine. I don't even remember the language in the poll. So she was telling me, you're going to press here, you're going to press over there. So I saw that she put it in favor of the team she was on. And here's how the voter concludes. This is her sworn testimony. She says this vulnerable early voter new to the process. She says this, so I had the idea that she was giving me like a tour of how to do those things and that she was going to leave. So by the time I told her, okay, let me vote on my own, she said, no, you already voted.
Wow.
That's what Senate Bill 1's about, protecting voters like Ms. Cavazos, like our voters in East Texas, in urban Texas, across the state. We have a great system in Texas. This bill will make it better, protecting voters, letting them cast their votes. How does this bill make it easier to vote? In addition to what you've already heard, if you're in line now during early voting, you show up at the polls and the polls close, under Senate Bill 1, for the first time in Texas, you must be allowed to vote. What if your job does not allow you to get off work to vote? On Election Day, your employer has to let you off, but that's not true for early voting until today. Because when the governor signs this law under Senate Bill 1, that same protection for working people, for real people, will be extended to early voting. So many things we could say about how it makes it easier to vote, and yes, harder to cheat. We know that voters of every race, every demographic, every region of the state want their votes to count, to be counted fairly. That's what this bill's about, and we're so glad to be here. Governor, it's an honor to have you back in Tyler. My goodness, just months ago we were here talking about the social media bill. Thank you again for all you do. You should know the governor is very hands-on. He's involved in the details of these bills. He cares about these things. And Lieutenant Governor Patrick, this is Senate Bill 1 for a reason. In case you didn't know, those numbers are assigned by the Lieutenant Governor. He gave this bill number 1, highest priority for the Texas Senate and the Texas legislature. Governor Patrick, man. And Governor Abbott and Governor Patrick continue to push these forward, ignoring what we heard from the woke corporations who hadn't read the bill, ignoring the national D.C. talking points, and protecting Texas voters. The right to vote. I know we have people here who've worn the uniform. I know we have some that I know personally. The right to vote is too precious. The cost was too high for it to go unsecured. And so Senate Bill 1, easy to vote, hard to cheat. So thankful, so proud to be here today with each one of you. And let me thank each one who made phone calls, who made visits, who prayed, who got involved. In America, the government works for the people, and your voice matters. And I'm so proud to be here sitting against the Representative Andrew Murr. Known Representative Murr for a while. We hadn't worked on a big bill together until this, and I hope you got to watch him present this bill in front of the House. If not, it's worth a look to go back and look. You should listen to his closing remarks. He talks about an election fraud that took place back in the 1940s, and he might not be here but for that. He may not talk to us about that today, but I'm so thankful that he is representing the Hill Country in the Texas House, and he shepherded this bill through the process. He and the excellent members behind us got this bill and saw it through. And so I'm going to yield my time now and recognize Chairman Andrew Murr. Welcome to